device isn't working. So for me to upload a lesson video, I have to do it like this today. It's sort of a pain. You want to do your test later? Yeah, just make sure you do your test. Also, make sure you're keeping up with math because I know a lot of you have Miss Goodley, and I know a lot of you aren't turning in assignments for math. So make sure you're turning stuff in for math as well. I want everyone to pass on the first progress report. Got it? Because I can check your math grade too. And I know starting next week, we're doing after school tutorials again. So if you're falling behind, we'll drag you in here. Okay? Okay. So we are going to do lesson 12 today. We are going to finish out Act 2. Okay, that's a big deal. We're almost halfway through this play. Do y'all like it so far? Meh. Do y'all like this book better or All Quiet on the Western Front? My opinion, I like this one better than All Quiet on the Western Front. What do y'all think? This one? When you say Western Front, that book was just so boring. Oh, that was such a boring book. This one's a little bit better because I think y'all just relate to the topic of love a bit more. But what we're going to do today, y'all should be familiar with. We are going to look at this painting. I know it's a little bit tiny, but this is as big as I could get it without it getting all weird. So I want y'all to write down in the chat one notice and one wonder that you have about this painting. Y'all know what notice and wonder is. Notice is, what you observe, what you see. And a wonder is any questions you might have. Any questions you might have. So a notice could be like there's two people in there. And then a wonder could be like, I wonder when this painting was made, what year, right? So if you have any notice and wonders, put them into the chat, please. Okay, well, they look weird. They do look weird. I will admit that. They do look weird. Kind of, they're holding hands. Good job. The wonder why is the on the right wearing all black? Yeah. He's sort of wearing, it's hard to tell here, but he's sort of wearing fur too. Not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of the hat. I feel like I could definitely pull that hat off. 100% I could. Jordan, she's pregnant. Glad you brought that up. Why do they look like E.T.? Anyone else have any notice and wonders? Jordan, I'm glad you brought up the pregnant part. Okay. So, the anything regarding the pregnant part is she's not actually pregnant. Right here, you can see that she's like holding up like a handful of her dress and like sort of pulling it up a little bit. So it's just like the dress scrunching up, right? Kenneth, great job noticing the holding. They're sort of holding hands weird, right? They're not like grabbing the hands, like she's just resting her hand on top, right? I thought it sort of looked like a little ceremony. Maybe they're getting married or something. I noticed these little oranges on the side. I'm going to go back to these oranges later. You can't see it, but back here, there's like a little dog sculpture. And back here, there's another sculpture of like a goddess in their times. I thought they looked a little bit rich, right? Like look at this hat. You don't wear this hat unless you got a big bank account, He's wearing fur, right? The chandelier. Yeah, she's not pregnant. I thought she was pregnant too when I first saw this, so I had to look it up. But she's actually not pregnant. She's like scrunching up her dress, right? Also, the colors, right? The colors, do y'all think it's dark or do you think it's more bright? See, like right here, the top of her hand, it's like part of her dress and she's like holding it up, right? So it's just scrunching. Yeah, the color is darker, right? So I think the mood is a bit serious. I thought maybe they're having a wedding, right? But like, do they look happy? Like, do their faces look happy? No, right? So I thought it was maybe like an arranged marriage, right? So I thought the topic of arranged marriage is cool because in the play, right, Hermia, her dad is trying to set her up on an arranged marriage with Demetrius, right? So I thought it's sort of related. Um, but those are just some of the notice and wonders I had. I'm gonna go back to these oranges and the dog and this little sculpture. Do y'all know what symbols are? Yeah, symbols. Do y'all remember the three symbols I showed y'all for the symbol of love, like the arrow, the magnet, and the question mark, right? So symbols are usually found in any reading or paintings, right? So some of the symbols in this one, the orange is a symbol for fertility. Right? Do y'all know what fertility is? Or have you heard of fertility? That's a hard word to say. Fertility. Have y'all heard of fertility? You've heard of it? It sort of has to do with the ability to have children. You know, the more fertile you are, the more likely you are to have children, right? So that sort of represents fertility, and everything else back there represents fertility and childbirth. Those are symbols of fertility and childbirth. So it looks like a wedding or like a ceremony of some sort of ritual, and there's symbols of fertility in the background, right? So I can assume that this painting is mostly about, I don't know, a couple wanting children, a couple wanting to get pregnant, wanting to start a family, right? So that's why I want us to just focus on symbols as we go on, because a lot of paintings are going to start coming up in these lessons. I just want you to think of just paintings. The orange one would always be hard to get, but like the magnet and the arrows, those are common symbols of love. And I thought y'all did a really good job of choosing one in the last couple of lessons. Okay, but this painting is pretty weird. A lot of you said they looked weird and they looked like aliens. That is because this was painted in the 1400s, specifically 1434. So basically like 600 years ago. The painting's name is the Arnolfini portrait. It was painted by Jan van Eyck, 1434, and it is a oil painting on a panel. Okay, we're going to be looking at this painting a couple more lessons, but yeah, their faces sort of freak me out a little bit. Yeah, Alfredo, yeah. Symbols, a lot of symbols do develop over time. There are a couple symbols in this play, the flower being a very big part of a symbol in this play. Okay, and we are going to look at the flower today. Right, and do y'all remember why that flower is so important? Anyone remember why that flower is so important? Yes. Yeah, the flower was shot by Cupid and it has the ability to make you fall in love with the first person that you see. And that's what we're going to run into today. Okay, so let us start with lesson 12. So the focusing question is still the same. What defines the experience of love? You know, everyone experiences love differently. You know, love isn't just one size fits all type of thing, right? It changes with each person. And the content framing question, did I say lesson 12? We're doing lesson 11 today. We're doing lesson 12 tomorrow. That was my bad. Lesson 11, what are themes about love in A Midsummer's Night Dream? Okay. And lesson 11, we are going to able to synthesize evidence to identify a theme about the experience of love in A Midsummer's Night Dream. Anyone remember what theme is? Anybody remember what theme is? Because I know we worked on theme quite a bit in the last module. Anyone remember what theme is? Or the definition of theme in your own words. Anyone remember what theme is? Moral of the story? Yes, that's great. That's a good way to put it. It's the moral of the story, right? It's the life lesson that the author wants you to know and learn. The theme about this one is, love. Right? Love is hard. Love takes a while. Love changes people. That's a common theme. Alfredo, great job. The message, the lesson, right? So what we're gonna do Act 2, Scene 2, specifically lines 24 to 54 of the reading handout, or lines 90 through 163 of the book, if you have the book, because I know a couple of you went and picked it up. The reading handout is also found in today's folder, 127. It's basically just these 2 pages, right? What are we doing? Oh, here we go. So, last lesson, who watched the lesson video from yesterday? It's fine if you didn't. You can just go back, watch it for free time. Anyone watch that lesson video? If you didn't watch it, just say no in the chat. If you, this is a good lesson. It was about Demetrius and Helena like fighting and arguing. Come on. Y'all killing me, man. Y'all are actually killing me. Was it about Demetrius and Helena? Oh, it was about Hermia and Helena fighting, yeah. Y'all really didn't watch it? I'm not gonna lie, the YouTube video views, I can see how many people view it, and it is not great. Last module we had a good amount of views. Now y'all are just killing me. Y'all are just killing me with it now. Okay, so we're gonna close out Act 2, Scene 2. Okay. Let me pull up the reading. It's taking so long. Okay. So what is happening in Act 2, Scene 2? Right? Helena and Demetrius, they fight quite a bit, right? They were fighting, and then Hermia and Lysander fight a little bit. And then the main part of this, right, is Demetrius and Helena. They're sort of where Lysander and Hermia are sleeping. Right? In the last lesson, Lysander and Hermia, they've been walking through the woods a lot, and they fall asleep in a random part of the woods, right? And Robin or Puck finds them. And what does anyone remember what Robin or Puck does to Lysander? Or anyone, I know if you didn't watch the lesson video, you don't know, but can anyone take a guess at what Robin does to Lysander while he's sleeping? It has to do with the flower. Anyone know? Murder? What? Kenneth, yes, the flower. He puts the flower, like the potion, the magic, into Lysander's eyes while he's sleeping. And now we're going to wait and see who Lysander sees first, right? And then, here he comes, Helena. Right? Helena comes in. She's chasing after Demetrius, and Demetrius runs away. He's like, hey, I'm tired of you. I'm sprinting out of here. Helena is basically like, hey, I'm tired of chasing him. I'm out of breath, literally and figuratively, right? And she's basically just jealous. She's like, Hermia is so lucky. She's so beautiful. And then she compares herself to a bear. She's basically like, I'm as ugly as a bear. That's a simile right there. And she's like, any wild animal that sees me runs away in terror. Demetrius loves Hermia because she's beautiful, right? And then she's walking around, and then she sees Lysander on the ground. She's like, oh, Lysander, are you dead or sleeping? And then she's like, Lysander, wake up if you're alive. And then boom. Helena's the first person Lysander sees, and he goes, and run through fire I will for thy sweet sake, transparent Helena. Nature shows art that through thy bosom makes me see thy heart. Where's Demetrius? Oh, how fit a word is that vile name to perish on my sword. So he's basically just saying, Helena, you're so beautiful. My goodness, thank God you're here, right? And he just keeps trying to woo Helena. She's like, I'm tired of Hermia. I spent all this time on Hermia, right? And I'm just sick and tired of it. Right? And Helena thinks he's joking. Right? What do we know about Helena? Does she have a lot of confidence or not a lot of confidence? What do you know about Helena? Is she confident, or is she sort of lost a lot? Right? She does not have a lot of confidence. Right? Her constantly chasing after Demetrius sort of ruined her confidence. And that's a great way to put it. She's insecure. She's insecure about herself now, right? So whenever Lysander is like confessing his love for her, she goes, "Why does everyone always make fun of me? Right? What did I do to deserve this from you, Lysander? I thought you were a nice person." She thinks Lysander is playing a joke on her, like, that he's pranking her by saying that I love you, right? She has really no confidence, so she's not used to someone like saying all this to her, right? And then Lysander, or Helena runs away, and Lysander basically says, she sees not Hermia. Hermia sleeps out there. Basically, like, she didn't see Hermia sleeping over there. Hermia, keep sleeping and don't ever come near me again, right? He goes, for as the surfeit of the sweetest things, the deepest loathing to the stomach brings, whereas the heresies that men do leave are hated most of those that they did deceive. So therefore my surfeit and my heresy of all be hated, but the most of me, and all my powers address of your love, a might to honor Helen and to be her knight. So he basically compares Hermia to, or loving Hermia to eating too many sweets, eating too many candy, right? What happens to y'all whenever you eat too much candy and sweets? How do y'all feel after? How do y'all feel after you eat too much candy? Tired, hyper. What about like maybe like 2 hours after you eat all the candy? Does your stomach feel good, or are you feeling a little bit bad? You don't feel bad after eating too much candy? What? I feel bad after eating like too much sweet stuff. Like my stomach hurts. Y'all are lucky. But he's basically comparing loving Hermia and spending all that time on her on eating too many sweets. He basically says eating too many sweets make people sick to their stomachs, and people always hate the mistakes they made in the past worse than anyone else hates those mistakes. Hermia, you're the sweet I've had too much of and the mistake I used to make. So she's basically saying, I'll use all my talents and my time to go after Helena from now on, right? So he's done with Helena. And then Hermia eventually wakes up after Lysander leaves her, right? And Hermia is basically saying, she has a nightmare. She wakes up from that nightmare and she's like, Lysander, help me. And then she notices that Lysander is gone, right? She notices that Lysander is gone. And she basically is saying, hey, I'm going to go find you. Like, she goes, I'll find you or die right away. She's basically saying, I'm either going to find you or I'm going to die trying. Or I'm going to kill myself if I can't find you, right? Hermia loves Lysander and she's willing to throw everything away just for him, right? So that was basically the end of Act 2, Scene 2. All right. The problem got introduced is Lysander is now in love with Helena because of the flower and the mistake that Robin or Puck made, right? So that is the problem that we're going to be facing going into Act 3. There's also another person with the flower rubbed into their eyes. Does anyone know who else it is? There's a second person with the flower rubbed into their eyes. Anyone remember? It is the queen. Yes, Kenneth, the queen. Queen Titania. Titania also has the flower rubbed into her eyes. And in the next act, Act 3, we're going to see who she sees first. Okay? We're going to see who she sees first. Okay, yeah, it was a different time. Shakespeare was a very dark writer. He's a very dark writer. Okay, so y'all don't have to think of this T-chart. So I want y'all to just write in the chat for setting Act 2. Do y'all know what setting is? Right, where it takes place, right? So for Act 1, right? I know Act 1 was a little bit ago. What was the setting in Act 1? Anyone remember? Do y'all know the location? that took place in Act 1? I don't remember the city name, or this, the name of the city that they're in. Yes, Athens, right? So the setting for Act 1 is Athens, right? That's the name of the city. That's why whenever Oberon describes Demetrius, he says the Athenian man in Athenian clothing, right? It's Atlantis. But it's Athens, right? Do you know who is in charge of Athens? What character is in charge? The ruler of Athens? He's sort of known as the Duke of Athens. I don't remember. Anyone remember? The first character we were introduced to. Anyone remember what his name is? Theseus. Good job, right? Theseus is the ruler of Athens, right? They go to Theseus, right? Aegeus and Hermia and they go to Theseus with their problem because he's the one that gets to make the decision, right? And what was the major event or the major problem that was in Act 1? It has to do with Hermia. What was the major problem in Act 1? I don't remember what the major problem in Act 1 was. Right? Hermia. And no, she wasn't being forced to marry Lysander. There's another character. Demetrius. Right? She was being forced to marry Demetrius, and she was given 3 choices, right? Be a nun, die, or marry Demetrius. She was given 4 days. 4 days to make that choice. And she decides to run away. That's the major event. Do y'all remember any? Do y'all know what adjectives are? Kenneth is perfect. There's so many characters that get introduced. Sometimes I mess up on their names. Like I mess up Helena and Hermia constantly. Perfectly fine. Anyone? Do y'all know what adjectives are? Describe something. That's a good way to put it. It's basically a word or a phrase sort of describing a noun, right? So it's a good way to put it. So if you had to use, let's instead of 2, let's do 1. If you had to come up with 1 adjective to describe Athens and what was happening, what adjective would y'all use? One adjective to describe the environment of Athens and how the characters were feeling. Ooh, I like chaotic. Messy. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like these. Anyone else have one? Those 2 are good. I like them. Weird. Weird works. Weird's a good one. Ow. Those are good. Those are good. Okay. What about for setting Act 2? What is the location in, what is the setting in Act 2? What is the location in Act 2? Forest, right? They're in the woods. They're in the forest, right? Who is the ruler or rulers? There's 2 people in charge of the forest or the woods that they're in. There's 2 people in charge. The fairies, right? The fairy, the king and queen, Titania and Oberon, right? They're the rulers, right? They're the fairy king and queen of the forest and the woods. Okay? What is the major event or conflict that is happening in Act 2? I know there's a couple. Just choose one that you think is the main one. A major event or activity or conflict that is happening in setting Act 2. Oh, Kenneth, that is a great one. Oberyn wants the little kid, right? The little foster boy, right? He wants the kid. Right? That's a good one. Another one, great one would be the flower, right? The flower, or yeah, the flower and Titania getting the flower rubbed in, and Lysander getting the flower rubbed in. That's a great one. Kenneth, I think that's a perfect one. What adjective would you use to describe the forest and what's happening in it? A couple of the ones that you said for Act 1 could work, right? Messy, chaotic, weird. Try to come up with another one, right? Messy is honestly perfect for this one, though. It's messy. It's so messy. So much happening. So much happening. The woods, like right when the characters went into the woods, this when everything just hit the fan, right? Everything started going wrong for everybody. Except for Oberyn, I guess. Everything's sort of working out for Oberyn. Okay, those are good jobs. Some of the stuff I put, setting Act 1, I said Athens, great job by y'all. Ruled by Theseus, right? And the major activities are the disagreements, especially Aegeus and Hermia and the choices she had to make. I said the environment is aggressive and angry, but what y'all said is great as well. Messy, weird, chaotic, right? It was all of those things, right? And for Act 2, setting is the forest or the woods they're in, ruled by Oberyn and Titania. Lots of fights, right, between Oberyn and Titania, especially with having to do with the little boy, right, the kid, right? And the human characters are fighting too, like Demetrius and Helen are fighting. Lysander and Hermia fought a little bit in lesson 11, or lesson 9, yesterday's lesson. Right, lots of trickery and lying. Right, everyone is lying to each other. And some of the adjectives I said, it was unpredictable. Like we don't know what's going to happen in the woods, right? And it's chaotic. Right, it is chaotic. Kenneth, yours is great too, messy, and a lot of what you said for Act 1 could definitely work for Act 2 as well. It's a lot of similarities with each other, right? A lot of similarities. So, how does each setting represent a different definition of love? Or different definition of the experience of love? I'm just going to show y'all what I put. I said in Athens, in Act 1, love is an experience that must follow the rule of law, right? There's laws about who you get to love and marry. Because Hermia wants to choose the man she marries, right? She wants to choose who she gets to marry, which is Lysander, rather than accept the man her father chooses. She is taken to court, okay? Aegeus wants their argument resolved by the court of law, by Theseus. Love is considered a contract and a matter of family concern rather than the experience of following your heart and choosing who you get to love. Love matches are determined by those in charge, not the lovers themselves. So Theseus and Aegeus want the experience of love to be very predictable and orderly and decided by men. So Theseus and Aegeus, sort of the heads, the people with all the power, decide that, love shouldn't be random. Love shouldn't be crazy. Love should be followed by rules and laws, and it should be this and that, right? It should be put in these little categories, right? I said in the forest, love is unruly, wild, and magical, right? It's random. You can't control it. There's a potion that can make anyone love anything, like the flower. The experience of love in the forest is not straightforward. It's random. It's unpredictable. There are a lot of misunderstandings and mix-ups that make love unpredictable. However, the experience of love in the forest is really close to that of Athens, the city, because no one seems to be able to control their experiences, right? So love in Athens in Act 1 is predictable. It's chosen for you, right? And love in Act 2, the forest, is random. It's chance. You have no control over it, right? It can happen anything. It's magical. But in both of those, no one has the control of choosing who they get to love, right? In Act 1, it's because the men are in charge. In Act 2, it's because magic and trickery and stuff like that. Okay, so Hermia has no choice in who she gets to love in both of those. Lysander has no choice in who they get to love in Act 1 and Act 2. Does that make sense? So far, the experience of love for everybody is that they can't control who they love. Okay? Is that making sense to y'all? I know it's taking a while. We're about to wrap up here soon. Yeah, Jordan, perfect way to put it. It's all over the place, right? It's all over the place. They have no say, which sort of sucks because, you know, you should be able to decide who you get to love, right? Because it's your own heart, it's your own brain, but none of these characters have a choice so far. But I thought y'all did a great job so far. So, not really going to review. I'm going to do that in a later lesson. So a couple announcements before I let y'all go. We are going to meet tomorrow for lesson 12, right? Friday, remember, I don't do anything on Fridays, right? So catch up on work. I'm submitting grades in on Friday, so make sure you do that 3-week assessment, okay? Turn in grades. I am going to be uploading a quiz over Act 2 currently. I'm going to show you what the quiz looks like. It's a little bit different than what we've done so far. Publish it right here. To quiz. So it is short answer questions, your favorites. Short answer. So why are Oberyn and Titania fighting? Put it in your own words. What is important about the flower and why does Oberyn want it? Describe the relationship between Helena and Demetrius. And what mistake does Robin Goodfellow, or Puck, different name, right, make with the flower? Okay, just put those in your own words. If you need help, go through your past readings and the previous days or watch the lesson videos. Okay? But does anyone have any questions? Because the Nets gave up all their height. Cavs are great at rebounding now because they got Jared Allen. They have Andre Drummond. That's why they lost. Does anyone have any questions?